But I brought with me a little bit of business from my old job, which paid me a little bit. It was enough to pay my rent, so to speak. And then, um, there there's not a lot in my life that has been more frightening um, than that step of leaving the security of a paycheck, a pretty good paycheck, really. And I knew when I left, I knew that it was going to take time, probably years before I made the income that I was making when I left. Best decision I ever made, though. I came down here to Johnson County, started working. Listen, I know that this is not a Johnson County podcast, but I'm going to shout out to my people in Johnson County. There cannot possibly be, no disrespect to anybody else, there cannot possibly be a better bar than the Johnson County bar. We all get along really well. For the most part, everybody wants to help everybody else out. So that's what I walked into. Of course, I came in knowing some big players in the county like Mike Auger and Andy Baldwin. I got to make introductions because I had just run for judge. So I'd already kind of known some people, looking for support, which didn't go my way, but that's all right. And got in with some of the judges. The judges started giving me some conflict work. I started getting appointed on some CHINS cases, Children in Need of Services cases, out in the Johnson County Juvenile Court. And of course, as you meet lawyers, here's one of the things that'll happen, right? When you're the new guy in town and the phone rings and you're like, oh, this case sounds terrible. I'm going to have you call this guy. Okay. He's new and he's hungry and he's ready to take your work. So then I got that kind of work and you build a practice off of it. You really do. Those are the kind of cases now that I refer out to other young guys, the people like, I don't really want to handle this kind of work anymore. And it took a little while, but now I can be very selective in the kind of cases that I accept. I primarily limit myself strictly to criminal defense. I don't want to say I specialize in that or anything like that because I don't. But that's the vast majority of my practice. I'd say 90+% of my practice is criminal defense. So focusing on that, I know the prosecutors. I talk to the prosecutors and I'm able to do I think a good job for my people.
Thank you so much for sharing all that, Brian. That's pretty amazing and a lot there, really. I think we could take any one of those segments of your story and just talk about it and how important it is to starting a practice. But just the idea of running for office, I think, is really interesting to me. And I think that's one thing that Thunberg says in the book, How to Start and Build a Law Practice, is maybe you run for office. And if you do that, you'll make some contacts. And, I haven't run for office or anything like that. It wasn't my path to opening up a law practice, but I found it interesting that that's the way that you kind of made connections in the place where you eventually would start your law practice.
Yeah. And, that was, I think you mentioned a book that I actually bought and read before going out on my own, How to Start and Build Your Law Practice, white and blue book.
Yep.
I don't know that I have a copy of it on my shelf, but I did read that and it was good, and that one of the really great things about that book is it gets into so many nuances of like talking about things that you don't think about is like, what am I doing about a copy machine? Now I don't remember specifically that I decided to run for that office because of that book. I ran for that actually because I thought, well, nobody else was running for it, so I'll hop in. And at the time, I was the only candidate. But the long-time city court judge that we had was retiring. So I was like, what the hell? So
yeah,
it worked out.
Yeah.
I didn't win, but it worked.
Yeah.